Hey, what's up guys? Psynaps here. In this video, I invited a panel of streamers, both partnered and non-partnered. This is one talk show video in a multi-video series to address the most important questions asked by streamers. If you find these videos useful, please subscribe to the channel, please like, and let me know in the comments what you think. Make sure you check the description for more links and tips for streamers. What happens, what Twitch doesn't really tell you, and it's actually an issue that I want to talk about whenever we move into the partners versus no partners, non-partners stream settings, is there's a huge misunderstanding about what Twitch supports and what Twitch doesn't support. They basically take your stream and spit it back out to everybody else. So if you want to stream 4K, I don't know if that's bad for the servers or not, but they will spit back out that stream to everybody else. Not everybody will be able to watch it. They'll probably be buffering. Bad things will happen. People will complain. And but you can do it. It will work. You do it right now if you want.
I remember in the
partners.
Even at just a bit downsampled from 1080p, some of my viewers still get a lot of buffering. But it really depends on the time of the day and which server I use to stream to.
Are you
That's a really good
in
point.
a different part of the world? I'm just asking.
I'm sitting in Denmark.
Early on in Twitch, when I'm kind of one of the older streamers, I noticed there was this a big mobile viewers and big like foreign viewers. And so one thing I did to gain a lot of early traction on my stream was I actually turned it down to 720 and the frame rates up to 60. And people would constantly come in and be like, oh, this is the best quality stream I've ever seen. And it actually was much worse than most of the higher quality streams. But what I was giving them was 60 frames, which at the time no one was really doing yet. And
nice
so
and smooth.
People were really excited about it. You know, kids on the bus or at school or like, you know, watching from a computer lab or something like that. They got like extra quality sort of, and they couldn't tell because, you know, they're watching on smaller monitors. So there's something to be said for balancing your demographic for your quality bandwidth, right? Like I'm not partnered, unfortunately.
Super valid point, yeah.
And I can't, you know, people say like, oh yeah, just crank it up to like 5K or crank it up to 3,500. If I put my stream at 3,500, none of my EU viewers will stay around. None of them will be able to download
I see.
it.
Well, that's what I was just gonna say. It's like, yeah, I mean, if I had a good enough processor, I could stream at 4K 30, let's say. But the problem with that is that unless you're a partner, right, that's going to be the only source that you have. And so, I mean,
and I've run into times where they'll view bot me. That's a huge issue too. So it's like, you know, some guy from Russia is trying to watch my RBG games. He doesn't have the source button, and he whispers to me, he's like, "Oh, I'm just going to view about your stream real quick." It's like, "Oh, please do not do that, good sir." You're like, you know, that really hurts me much more than it helps me.
Oh, is it? They're trying to help you to get the source button by doing that?
Yeah, they want the source button. So they'll just keep
interesting.
view botting until they get to that source button, and then they'll hold it there so they get the source button. And it's like, and I've even
never even thought of that.
How come turbo users don't always get the source button? They're already paying a fee because that's what they tell you. Is they say we can't give you these partnered servers because there are resources that we have to allocate. Well, it's like, well, you have paying users; they should get that first of all, and second of all, how come the channel can't pay for it? Why can't I pay, say, $40 a month to allow all of my users to have source? Instead of like waiting for my partnership, you know, because that's something I'd be more than willing to do for my viewers.
This is why I wanted Giga to come and talk, because Giga Snail is always very, very thoughtful about this stuff and always thinking about things that I think nobody else really thinks about. Those are really good questions. I mean, the first question, why can't the turbo users do it for whatever channel they want? I think the answer to that one is because once it's transcoded for one person, it's probably just, it doesn't matter how many people it transcodes for. All right. It's the transcoding itself that is the costly, resource heavy thing. All right. Just if you transcode it for one person, doesn't matter if it's 1 or 100,000, it just spits out the transcode to everybody. But the next part that you said about actually paying money, like subscribing to, you know, encourage them to transcode, that's interesting. Maybe some people want to do that. I didn't think, you know, that would be something people want to do, but I never had that idea never crossed my mind. They could most certainly add that as a service. The good news is they did have an announcement, and Giga read it, and I don't think we really understood it fully. They did announce that because they have more resources, maybe they have more servers or something, they are launching the source pull down, the quality pull down menu. They suggested they were, you know, offering it to more non-partnered users. Right now it's built in as a partnered only thing, or if you get above like 100 viewers or 200 viewers or so however many viewers, they would enable it on your channel, just because of high volume purposes. But now they're saying that they're just, putting it out there anyway, even before you start streaming, even before you have 100 or 200 viewers watching, they're just going to enable it on some channels depending on if those resources are available. And at least that's what it seemed to me like it mentioned, but it was also talking about reducing disturbances. But how is that a disturbance?
Yeah, so I had a little bit more pessimistic read on that I think you did. So the disturbance they're talking about, first of all, is when you hit that 100 mark or whatever. It's a percentage, it's not an exact number. Whenever you hit that, if somebody's watching like on a browser, the screen will just go dark, like they DC'd or got DDoSed or something. And most end users won't know to refresh the stream to get to get to the new server on Twitch. So you would essentially lose all your viewers just like randomly, which was bad, which is why they're changing it, which is good. But the way I read it was that those partners who get it most frequently, so non-partnered streamers who frequently get to the source code server, will now find that when they log in or start streaming from the beginning, they're often just automatically granted those source code servers. Well, that kind of screams as a huge white flag to me or red flag, because what if you don't get it all the time, but you get it like maybe once or twice a week? Now those resources might already be pre-allocated to somebody who maybe just streams more than you. And so it's kind of a growing gap or a glass ceiling that I see a lot in Twitch, where the bigger streamers get bigger and the smaller streamers seem to get smaller.
Yes, that is a huge concern. And Twitch, that is a problem on Twitch, is that, and I also feel it too as a partnered streamer, where, it's very hard to grow. It's even harder for newer streamers to grow, because for, I guess, many different reasons. And so how do we overcome those limitations? And Twitch kind of puts some barriers in our way, especially for non-partnered streamers, I feel, to grow. The quality pull down is just one of those big hurdles that the non-partners, and in my opinion, the biggest hurdle for the non-partner streamers is that quality pull down, because it limits ultimately your ability to reach a lot of people. A lot of people can't watch at 3,500, but we all want to, most of us that can, we want to watch at 35. So you're being pulled in two different directions. One direction is you want to go for the high quality stream, and lots of people could watch at 35 or even 45 or even 55 or even more. But there's a whole bunch of people who can't, and they need the pull down for those mobile users. They're watching from school. They're watching on a bus. I've had many people too that tell me, "Hey, Psynaps, I'm in class right now watching on my mobile." I'm like, shouldn't you be like studying? Like, wow, you're watching. I mean, that's fine. I mean, whatever. I mean, it's your life. You do what you want. But, would that person still be able to watch my stream if they didn't have the quality options of their choice? Probably not. And that's where Giga had to solve the issue by going down to 720. We don't want to have to make that sacrifice. I don't want you to have to make that sacrifice personally. But then again, I don't control the quality pull downs for everybody else. Maybe one day, Psynaps for president, fixing Twitch.
Yeah. That's the main reason why, even if I wanted to stream at 4K, I can't, because I don't have that quality option. So. But what if they like I think one of the main problems with like, in my opinion, with the whole algorithm on Twitch is it's always who has the most viewers, on the listing. But they should try like doing it. They should do it by the amount of people that are actively chatting, maybe.
I totally agree.
Viewers or something.
I totally agree.
Because there's a big difference.
Or how long the people have been in the stream, like concurrent viewership, not concurrent, but time watched. If someone's only coming in for 30 seconds and leaving, that's probably not as legitimate as, say, if you've been streaming 3 hours and 90% of your audience has been there for 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, that guy probably has a much more dedicated community than, like, some boobs who's just getting like a 30-second FAP sesh and then she loses that viewer.
Ooh,
right?
yeah.
I think the idea with the chat would be better for that part, because I think if
I have a quality question. Currently, I have one system, so I game and stream on the same computer. Unfortunately, it's not powerful, so I have to downscale my resolution and bitrate using the very fast preset. Is there anything I could do to increase the quality without putting too much more stress on my system? Yes, there is something that you can do there to not put so much pressure. You can actually change the very fast preset to a super fast or an ultra fast. Unfortunately, there's a trade-off there. When you do that, you get a little bit more compression artifacts. But I think that if you're able to stream at 540, 30 at a 3K bitrate, very fast, I think you could possibly even get up to maybe 1280 by 720. You just have to try it. I would try this. Try a 1280 720 and change your preset to maybe super fast and see if you can do the same thing at 3K, because it looks like your PC, it's not your internet that's a problem this time. Now it's your PC, and the very fast preset is the one thing that I would try changing. And you know what? That's the good news. The good news is that you can probably play with that a little bit, and we'll ask the rest of the panel to see what they think. Just one more thing. If you're struggling with hardware problems, one issue is that sometimes you can't pull too much out if your CPU is already stressed out on games and stuff. You need a faster CPU. Try bringing down your settings in your games as well. Some people, there's this thing going on right now where everybody wants to stream on Ultra. They want to get two 980 Ti so that they can stream on Ultra. And I'm thinking to myself, that's great. It's great to play on Ultra, but it's not always great to stream on Ultra because you're trying to put so much details. You're trying to compress too many details, and it's going to be a worse experience for your viewers. Actually do the opposite. Don't bump your settings up, bump your settings down. And in terms of how much CPU you use, if you turn all that stuff off, like ambient occlusion and global illumination, you start turning down some things, guess what? Your CPU doesn't have to work as hard to process the game. So you might be able to squeeze a little more CPU and a little more resolution out of your stream by lowering your game settings. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree with you. You gotta have a you gotta balance it out, you know.
One thing too, I would say, I don't know what Venus' setup is because I'm not looking at his OBS, but it sounds like he may or may not be using variable bitrate. I know Twitch really doesn't like variable bitrate, but it's amazing from our end, especially if you have an i7 4700 overclocked to 3.4. That's more than capable of handling 720p stream at 60 frame rates. That's what I used to stream on in almost that exact same setup. 720p, 60 frames, variable bitrate at 2700. So it's less bandwidth than you're currently using. But a much higher quality stream. So you might want to try those settings out.
Ooh, nice. Now remember too, as your bit rate goes up, the quality also goes up. And there's a little trick you can do. Now at super fast and ultra fast, normally those don't do very well with high movement environments until you get up into super high bit rates, like way higher bit rates than Twitch even that you would ever stream. All of a sudden, ultra fast and super fast start to look good. So there's a little balance there. The higher the bit rate goes up, the more flexibility you have with the easier processing presets. So for example, if you go up to like 20,000 kbps or 30,000 kbps, super fast and ultra fast looks even better than very fast at 3,000 kbps. So yeah, that's, and not only that, but your CPU is almost not working at all. On very fast, your CPU has to pump that encode out at 3,000 kbps. But if you go up to 20,000 kbps, throw it on ultra fast or super fast, all of a sudden your CPU is like almost not working at all, and you have a higher quality movement than you did at 3,000 kbps. So
sorry about that.
Something to keep in mind. That's one of the reasons that the RTMP stream works so well for me, is because I'm using that knowledge, that trick on my main computer, and then I let the encoding computer do the hard work for Twitch. Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. And just to follow up on VBR versus CBR, Giga said something that is absolutely right and that a lot of people are very confused about. Twitch does not recommend that you use VBR. They tell you to use CBR. Not only that, if you're streaming in VBR, sometimes a little alert will come up on your dashboard. It says your settings are not optimized. You need to switch to CBR. Okay, on the server standpoint, I understand that CBR is a very constant bit rate. And so if we draw it out, CBR, your bit rate, let's say that this would be like 33,000 kbps. I'll just say 3K. And CBR will go up and it'll stay right there at 3K. And no matter what, no matter if you're gaming or you're streaming creative, just drawing in Photoshop like I am right now. But in VBR, what'll happen is your bitrate will stay low while you're streaming in Photoshop. It'll even go down. And then once you start playing games, then it'll shoot up to the maximum. And then it'll go back down when you're not doing stuff. And sometimes it'll do stuff like this. And in the past, it's not the case now, nor have I seen in Nginx or any of my own RTMP servers, whether they're inside my network or out in the world. I just don't see any problems with instability or buffering in VBR mode. So I think the network engineers have figured this out for us. Now, that doesn't mean there's some strain on the Twitch servers. Maybe there is, but we don't see that in terms of buffering and stuff, not in my experience. And Giga has had good luck with it as well, it sounds like. This is the way that I prefer to stream. And something else that nobody knows, that very few people know about CBR versus VBR, is that X264, which is the codec that we're using to encode, X264 is optimized for VBR. And CBR is more of a hack to X264. I read a few things that were talking about X264's architecture, and there is no native CBR mode for X264. It doesn't exist. It's a hack. It's really the best quality that you can achieve using X264s, which is what we all use, is based on VBR settings for maximum quality. So it might seem like this nice steady line is giving you the best quality when in fact it's not. You might be getting better quality at this low peak because it's optimized than you are at this high peak because it's more of a workaround. So there's a little bit of knowledge for you. Something to give a try yourself and ask your viewers. If you decide you want to test something, ask your viewers how it is and, be reasonable and responsible with your powers and the knowledge that you have now.
It's all about
ask your viewers.
Variable cheers.
Variable cheers. Variable cheers rate.
Yeah. Gotta get that.
The most optimal cheers.
So
you don't want to do too many cheers or else you'll be like soda popping and throw up on the stream, make a big mess.
God, did you see that today? That was so gross.
Oh,
was it
gross.
like split pea soup or something? Like what came out?
I don't know.
It was weird.
I don't know, but it was a lot. Whatever it was, he had a full stomach.
It was like sleeping in his chair for 2 minutes.
I drink a lot on stream, but I don't throw up in front of everyone. I guess that's what I need to do next time. I need to kick it up a notch and take it up a level and just throw up all over myself.
He's not getting in more trouble over that, between...
He might.
I think this would be a good time to talk about the partnered versus non-partnered bit rates and resolutions.
Nice.
Yeah.
I completely agree. So whenever I did a YouTube video, it did pretty well. It's getting a lot of views and a lot of people are coming to my channel that have never seen me before and they're saying, hey, thanks, this really helped me. So check that YouTube. I'm going to roll out this broadcast as well on YouTube, but I'm going to cut it up. I'm going to take out all the informative parts of this podcast that we're doing right now, and I'm going to put those on YouTube. And if you guys want me to give you a shout, I'll make sure to give you everybody that's part of this discussion a shout out as well. Just give me your info in Discord afterwards, and I'll make sure to put it in the YouTube video. But let's talk about bit rates, because bit rates are, in my opinion, the number one thing that gives you the best quality stream. It's the number one most important factor that you can change to increase the quality of your stream. However, if you go too high, especially if you're a non-partnered streamer, then other people won't be able to enjoy your stream because they can't download a very high bitrate stream. A good example that we talked about earlier was mobile viewers. It's tough to stream a 3,500 kbps stream as a non-partner, and you have people that are on the bus, that are at school, or that are at work trying to watch the stream on their mobile device, but they can't download that huge bitrate, and it just buffers and all that. So tell me a little bit about what your guys' favorite bit rates are right now. I'll tell you right now what we're streaming at just to kind of set the bar. I've got my OBS on my encoding machine set to 4,500 kbps.
Oh, snap.
Yes.
That's
but
what I'm set at.
it's not streaming. Okay, but it's not CBR, it's VBR. So right now there's not a lot of movement. And I tried this. I even tried getting my sword and humping my chair and stuff the other night on the stream to demonstrate VBR. I couldn't get it to go that high because I wasn't humping faster. So I tried going faster and faster and faster. I even made my webcam really big so I could try to bump up that signal. So basically what it does is it responds to the amount of movement and changes. And so if you look at what the stream is right now on source, it's probably very, very low, even though I have the setting up that high.
So back to your question real quick. I'm not a partnered streamer. I'm so jealous of that subscription button. I see it every day. And I know for me, it's like one little trick that has worked. And I've, like I've said, I've had different iterations of my stream computer, and now I'm on a double stream system. So I feel pretty confident when I say this because this has been a general rule in any workflow that I've streamed from. And that's that 2700, 3100, and 3300, like the really odd numbers, if you're having to drop below 3500 kbps, seem to work well. And in my mind, and I don't know if this is true, it's because of the overhead of audio being, 128 or whatever, 256, whatever you have it set to. So like I found that the odd numbers slightly below the recommended settings are really best. So 3300 if you're trying to hit that 3500 mark as a non-partner. Like I said, 3100 if you're trying to be above 1080 frames or 1080 resolution, and then 2700 if you're doing like that 720p 60 frame stream. It seems to work really well, and there's no serious quality loss. There's a little bit of pixelation and high movement, but nothing that people would stop watching you for.
Very nice info. I wrote that down because that's some great info. And some people, that's just to follow up on that, like Giga talked about, let's say you're trying to hit the 3500 mark and you would dial in 33 because you have to compensate for the audio bitrate as well. And some people ask me that question. They're like, Psynaps, I have my settings at 3500, something like 3500, but I'm going way above that. Why is that happening? I can't stop it. And I was like, dude, you didn't compensate for your audio. You've also got the audio running through there, and maybe you're at 160, 192 kbps. So that's roughly about 200 more bit rate that you just added on top of the video. And there's a little bit of fluctuation in there as well, right? Little peaks and stuff as it's trying to stabilize. So you got to really give yourself a little room, I think, for fluctuation. That's a great one, dude.
A lot of people forget too, like they'll do the speed test or whatever, and the arguments over whether or not that is fully reflective of your actual bandwidth is probably a discussion for another time. But they'll take that number, say it's 5 megabit upload, and they'll go, okay, perfect, I can just stream 5K upload kbps, right. And that's what I'm gonna use. And it's like, whoa, you got to remember there's like all sorts of other things going on your network, man. So like leave yourself some room for your actual gameplay or music or what else as well.
Yeah, I'm limited to 5 megabits, so I agree with you on that.
Personally,
those speed tests too.
2.5 kilobits or 2.5K bitrate on my stream, and I stream at a slightly downscaled quality, but it's perfectly fine. I do raiding content in World of Warcraft, and sometimes there is a bit problem, but that's mainly because of my CPU is getting capped out. I still run an i5.
So what was the resolution that you run 2500 at?
Hold on a second.
Is it Giga?
It's downscaled 1.25 from
downscaled 1.2. Okay, so it's a little bit higher than 720, because 720 would be a 1.5 downscale.
I think
so it's a little bit larger.
835 or something. 835.
Okay, just taking some notes here. And then Giga, was those numbers 2733, were those for 720 or 1080?
So 33 and 31 are for 1080, 30 frames, non-partnered. And then 27 is what I run at when I'm doing 720, 60 frames. For mobile users, like whenever I do a morning stream, that's usually what I stream at, is 2700, because I know most of my viewers are at work or at school or on EU, and they don't have the bandwidth to capture the bigger ones. And I do change my settings also depending on what time I stream. A lot of people will tune in a setting, at 2 in the morning when they've finished setting up their computer, and they're like, oh, perfect, I got it working, or I'm going to leave it here forever. And then they go try to stream at prime time, and all of a sudden they're losing a ton of dropped frames. And it's like, well, yeah, your network is different. Their network is different. Your demographic that's viewing you is different. All these things are going to affect not only your bandwidth, but your settings and your workflow. So you need to keep that in mind when you're streaming. And that's why Twitch also recommends a set time, is because you want to develop kind of that back and forth communication with your viewers, where they'll tell you, yeah, okay, those are the settings we like, use those at these times. And so you can just make notes and sort of use that to your advantage.
They might actually have an
That's a great
algorithm
point.
to calculate which times you're streaming, and therefore saves a bit of bandwidth for you. So you have more bandwidth, so you can pull more quality through to your viewers.
Yeah, totally. I know really late
Very
night
nice.
streams, I crank everything up because I know I'm going to be one of the few people streaming. You know, EU might be waking up, so they're probably going to be at their desktops. NA is going to be wide awake if they're watching at all. The source servers are going to pick up real quick, so I'm going to have that source quality
That's awesome.
at 2 a.m. And so I just crank it up, you know, 35, 3700. I don't worry about it at all.
So that's a really good point. I think Giga has had a lot of time to think about this, because in his location, there was a time, I don't know if it's still the case, but where he was in Cali was just a kind of a geographical issue where the time of day really made a big impact on the bit rates that he could achieve. So that might not apply if you have Google Fiber and stuff. I hate all of you that have Google Fiber because I don't have it. We all wish that we had it. But maybe if you have like all of that bandwidth, it's still going to be affected by time of day and network propagation issues and stuff like that. But maybe it's not going to be affected as much. So if you're barely on the line to the bandwidth that you have available to you, it's going to fluctuate. And even when you do the speed test is going to be to the nearest, fastest data center. It's not going to reflect your speed connecting to a server other than the speed test server. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
You connect to the speed test server, it's going to give you a number, but the number will be different if you connect to a different server. And the different server in this case is going to be Twitch's ingest servers. And Twitch ingest servers can also fall victim to DDoS, to overload, to just general. I mean, look, they're computers. Everybody who has a computer knows that whatever can go wrong will go wrong eventually. Yep. And so there's that too. And so
I think ND Demon Wolfiv, he says he's streaming at 2500 at 720p 30 frames per second. So going back to my magic numbers, quote unquote, that kind of falls in that same sweet spot pattern, right? Nice. Like instead of 2700 60 frames, he drops it 200 kbps and he gets that 30 frames, and he says that's a sweet spot for him or her. So I think there's something there. I think there's like a feeling of sweet spots, and you need to find those sweet spots for yourself, for your demographic, and for your stream.
Yeah. I also noticed that I tried this test the other day, and I watched a Battlefield guy. He did a guide on OBS, and he had a good one. It was 2500 kbps, 2500 or up to 3K, depending on what you can do, at 720. It was a 1.5 downscale from 1080. Okay, so you set up OBS at 1080, then you do the 1.5 downscale, which puts it out at 720, 60 FPS, and then you change the preset from very fast to fast. And it turns out that when you do that, when you go down to 720, your computer can actually handle, if you have a fast computer, can handle the fast preset. And it works through it pretty easily. And man, that was a very crisp 720. It was so crisp. My tests were even better than my 1080 60 FPS at a higher bit rate. So if you guys are in the 720 area, you're in that 2500, 2700 area, if you have a fast computer, try setting your preset to faster, I believe it is. Let me bring up my settings right here. I'll show you exactly on the screen what it looks like. You go here from, I'm in InVec. I can't, that's not going to work. But anyway, it's like this little pull down right here. I'm using NVEC right now, so this is irrelevant. But you go from very fast to faster, which is the next one down.
It is an advanced setting in OBS.
It is an advanced setting. You go to settings under advanced, and it should be like X264 preset. And in OBS Studio, it's also in the settings in there. You'll see them. There's ultra fast, super fast, very fast, faster, fast, medium, slow, slower, and placebo. Those should be all the ones on the list. Those are common for the X264
it seems like
codec.
It seems like for streaming after medium, I can't see a quality difference. Like once you hit medium,
there's diminishing returns.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean,
If
there's a
it's
point where
faster. That's pretty good.
Mentioned.
That's a good tool.
If you're a streamer,
Yeah.
download that one for sure.
Ooh, I
Okay,
like
even if you're
that.
not going to use it right now, download it. Even if you're not going to use it right away, download it now. I also use it. I'll open up and show you a demonstration on my screen right now. And this one right here tells me my ping time to all the ingest servers. And there's some ingest servers here that you might not have thought of. I think there's even more ingest servers than are listed here, but as they update, you'll see more and more. This tells you what your ping time is, and another important value, it shows jitter. The lower these numbers are, the better. So this is going to tell you which ingest server is going to be the best for you, and this is going to help you to avoid, just like you said, it's very good advice. Thank you so much for mentioning it.
Yeah, no problem.
This is going to
those
help you
jitter
to-
numbers, holy shit, man.
It looks like there's two versions. I don't want anybody to be confused. I just read on their forum post. It says that.
Yeah, that's the new
the
one.
newest.
Yeah.
But that's
I'll have to-
also
I'm
I'll say
downloading
too,
it.
this gives you a good idea of, like, let's say you're in Los Angeles, like me, for example, but you have a lot of London viewers. This will give you a really good idea of how long it's going to take your London viewers to see what you're doing.
Oh, yeah. A little extra delay there.
Yeah.
It's going to go through multiple hops as the stream goes out to the edge servers. Edge servers are just a term that's used for servers that are out in the cloud. Once you go to the ingest server, your stream is going to be bounced out. It's going to be transcoded somewhere. I'm not sure what point it gets transcoded, probably in a transcoding server. That's going to be another hop. And then from there to the edge server, the edge server is going to be the last server in the line before it gets to you. So right now, if you're in EU, then you're probably getting my stream from an EU edge server that's nearby you. But my stream is going directly to Los Angeles right now, I believe. It's going to LA, gets transcoded somewhere in the cloud. I don't know where. Maybe LA, maybe somewhere else. Then it goes to the edge near you. It's just going to do multiple hops. That's why there's so much delay, probably.
Mm-hmm.
I used to stream to Chicago because I'm like 45 minutes from Chicago, so that's usually where I stream.
You probably have the best ping there, but check just in case, you'll be surprised.
Yeah,
I know depending on what backbone my ISP gives me, sometimes Dallas will actually be better than Los Angeles, and I live in Los Angeles.
Really? Wow.
Yeah,
Sometimes it like loops me back through the middle of the country, and when it does that, especially like early morning, and whenever it does that, it's like, oh, I should just pick Dallas because Dallas is closer to the
I think
whatever
that's
backbone they signed me on.
I think we found your problem, man. I think you got the split end of fiber over there in Los Angeles or something.
Yeah, no, well, my actual home, like in LA proper, San Pedro, Los Angeles Harbor, it's a really old infrastructure, and there's some serious packet loss issues. Like, I actually can't stream constant bitrate because the network is so old, it doesn't even have it. Like, there's built-in packet loss. And so they're like, yeah, just do variable bitrate, and that solved everything, so.
That's crazy.
I've seen that kind of weird stuff happen before. You're in LA, streaming to LA, but you have to go through Dallas first. I mean, absolutely absurd.
Yeah, I think it routes me through like Phoenix or something, and then from there it's like sends me back across. It's like, what the hell? Like, so out of my way, you know?
I live in Europe. I had no idea where those places are compared to each other.
It's like
They're
going
very
to
far
the
away
gas
from each
station
other.
before you walk to your couch in your house. It's like
We're
it's like
talking
way
about-
out of your way for no reason.
It's that bad.
Yeah.
Oodle,
Oh, I just wanted to get
wanted-
back to this humble peanut thing, because he's somebody in chat and he was asking a question. It was a little bit ago, but he said, what's a good CPU and GPU to use? I have an Intel i5 quad, a GTX 760, yet when I try to record with OBS, I get insane amounts of frame drops. I get encoding problems galore. Any tips, Psynaps?
Well, yeah, I think it's a good transition into GPU versus CPU encoding. Now, if you're recording to disk, you have more freedom because when you record to disk, you don't really have a limit on the bit rate that you can use. When we stream to Twitch, there's some restrictions on bandwidth that we have to be careful about because not everybody can watch at a super high bit rate, right? But when you record to disk, you don't have that limitation. And you can up your bit rate a lot. Another thing you can do, if you up your bit rate and you also change your encoding preset from very fast to like super fast or ultra fast, that's a tip that is also works with recording to disk. If you go to super fast or ultra fast, it uses almost no CPU. Okay, it still uses CPU, but if you're on a laptop or a slower computer, switching to super fast or ultra fast is going to let you record and set your bit rate to like 20,000 kbps or even 30,000. It's a lot, but I mean, 20 is going to be good for YouTube videos. VBR instead of CBR, variable bitrate. That means it's not going to always be using 20,000. It'll go up to 20 during maximum peaks, and it'll go lower whenever you're standing still and stuff like that. Okay, those two tips right there are going to be a huge improvement to your CPU. However, you've got, which graphic card did you say you had? The 760?
Yeah.
You can use the INVEC encoder. So go into your OBS settings. This does not work as well on OBS Studio. OBS Studio just released support for NVIDIA NVEC. It's very new, and I noticed it doesn't really work for my laptop. Haven't tested it on my PC yet. But here's the NVEC encoding. In fact, you could screenshot my screen right now and use these settings for recording to disk. If you have NVEC, 30,000 kbps, about a 10,000 buffer, but I am streaming this right now with NVEC, so I reduced the buffer to make it a little easier on the streaming server here. And here in the advanced settings, I use a high quality NVEC preset and the other settings like that. Screenshot that, and that is going to use no CPU because it's going to use the GPU onboard processor. You're going to have a great time with that. And it's going to be, if you have the NVEC on your OBS, it's going to be like night and day. And it's going to be beautiful, beautiful capture. There you go.
I just took a screenshot of it and put it in chat.
Top Matt Hat says NVEC loses more quality compared to X264. Not at the bitrate that I showed. At the bitrate I showed, it's actually higher quality. It's amazing. I cannot even comprehend how perfect. Okay, I am using a 970 on the other hand, but zoomed in, it's actually better than X264 at the high bit rates. But NVEC only works well at very high bit rates. If you go down to lower streaming bit rates, NVEC is out of the question. It sucks. It's bad. At lower bit rates, 4K, and it worked. It does work. Now, Twitch might get mad at you. They'll find you if you're abusing the server. At some point, you have to use your judgment and not try and push the limits so far, because
don't send them a DDoS attack through 1 gigabit bandwidth.
if you're DDoSing the servers and they find out you're doing that, I could imagine that would be perfect grounds for banning. But I had a friend, I'm not going to mention any names, but we worked together in Gamers League. So Giga knows him and AJ knows him. He's our graphics artist friend over in Russia. He has like gigabit Ethernet in Russia, and he pushed like 80,000 kbps to a Twitch server, and it worked fine. And he was the one that was telling me there was a cap. He's like, "There's a cap. It's at 3,500," and I kept telling him, "No, dude, there's no cap. It's just there's
an artificial
even
cap.
If you're." I mean, it's a recommendation. It's not like a hard cap.
It's their standard. It's not the internet standard.
So he's like me. He tested it.
BPS, you're gonna lose a lot of viewers because.
By the way, you guys know that 3,500
you wouldn't want to do that.
That Twitch bases all that on is entirely theoretical too. There's nothing that says the amount of information in a 1080p 30 frame stream is 3,500. It should average out mathematically to 3,500, but it's not like 1080p 30 frames is 3,500 kbps. No, absolutely. It 100% depends on how much you're moving, what's your encoding rate, what's your decoding, all that.
The number's going to change as games get more complicated, as computers get faster, as bandwidth goes up, and Twitch acquires more servers, and the servers get faster, and all of that. Those numbers are going to go up. And as 4K becomes a standard, 3,500 is silly. You can't even think about 4K at that number. So even YouTube is basically on the forefront of technology. They usually come out with things before anybody else even can support it. They support like 9,000 kbps streaming right now. Isn't that right? Somebody was telling me that. I'm not sure what their standards are, but they are prepared for 360 streaming. They support 360 degree VR live streaming now, even though there's no cameras. The cameras that support that are just coming out. It's part of a big promotional thing. Some companies are launching the cameras that do this live streaming. They're very expensive. It's very specialized equipment. So pretty soon there's going to be people, even if you think that's silly, that 4K is a bunch of hogwash, if you think that, that's fine. But there's also other people who can't wait because they want to sink their teeth into that 4K for whatever reason. So YouTube is already supporting that kind of stuff. I think Twitch is going to follow. Those numbers are going to go up very, very soon.
He was asking about internet day to day. Sometimes it's 20 down, 6 up. Other days it's 10 down, 3 up. Should I change the settings on a day to day basis? Getting rid of my internet is not helpful advice. Cough and cough. Yeah, absolutely. Change your variables, man.
Yeah.
I was saying this earlier. You should stream at all hours of the day, AM, afternoon, evening, over long periods of time. Do some serious research, and while you're collecting that data, adjust your variables, your upload, your download, your variable, your constant bit rate, whether you're doing 720, 1080. I said this earlier tonight. There were times when going down to 720 increased my viewership. Especially in morning streams. So absolutely, you should adjust those variables depending on when you're streaming.
And Giga has a personal experience with this. He has had a situation where time of day makes a difference in his bit rates. And so he's been able to actually take advantage of that, where he maximizes his stream settings during the times where he has the most bandwidth available. So everybody's internet is a little bit different. It all depends on the network infrastructure. As we've seen, there's areas, even in big cities, that have very old infrastructure and it's very unstable. There's packet loss and weird things that happen that shouldn't be happening. And there's also geographical things where there's remote locations that are just simply not close to the main switchboards. And so there's so many different variables that can take place that can destabilize your internet. So learn how your internet works. If there's times a day where you can do better settings, then do that. And it's not optimal because you don't want to stop your stream to change your settings. You could lose viewers that way. But giving your viewers the best quality stream, I think, is something they want. And you should try your best to do that.
Good rule of thumb would be during peak hours, optimize for your viewer. During off hours, optimize for you. That's my rule of thumb.
Yeah. If there's someone who is going to say, hey, the stream keeps buffering and I can't turn down the settings because, hey, no source bar.
Yeah.
And a little surprise, we're going to have a cheers Psynaps.
Oh, they're not nice. Subscribe. Oh, that's not nice. That was talking right now.
Yeah.
Do you want to? Should we sound the alarm and everything?
Do it.
Go all in?
Yeah, go all in.
He wants to go all the way in.
I actually still have some rum and coke here to cheers with your Psynaps.
All right, guys. That's it for this video. If you found this video useful, please subscribe to the channel. Please like the video and let me know in the comments what you think. For more information on configuring your stream, be sure to check the description for a link. Good luck and have fun.